Doing great. Appreciate you all coming out. First and foremost, from the Mississippi State football family, we'd like to extend our deepest thoughts and prayers to the family of Stan Black. Stan was a terrific football player here at Mississippi State, a 1976 All-American and a two-time All-SEC defensive back, and he passed away this past weekend giving assistance to somebody on the side of the road. So certainly, our thoughts and prayers are with him. With that being said, we're excited it's finally game week. The guys are excited to prepare for an opponent. We had a great and productive, preseason camp. I thought we improved in all three phases, and certainly excited to get into Davis Wade on Saturday and hear a great and tremendous crowd for our first game of the 2018 season. On to Stephen F. Austin, interim head coach Jeff Bird, playing a very tough Southland Conference. Offensively, they were primarily an 11 and 10 personnel team, major in the inside zone, run a little bit of power, a little bit of counter, dabble in the RPO game. And I think they do a real good job, working on matchups. The quarterback, number 10, is a very good player. They have two excellent receivers, number 80, who was a freshman All-American last year, and number 2, who's a transfer for Texas A&M. So those guys present some matchup issues on the perimeter, so that'll be a really good challenge for us. So certainly their offense is one, in a lot of ways, somewhat similar to what we run, so that's great for preparation for Coach Shoup and the defense. On the other side of the ball, they're an odd stack front, play 3 down, mix in a variety of coverages, blitz a little bit on 3rd down and in the tight red zone. The best players are their nose guard. He does a real good job, number 50, their middle linebacker, and then number 33, who's their safety, and also is a tremendous player in the return game. And we think, on that side of the ball that he's, probably their best player. So certainly excited for him. And then they're very, very solid in the kicking game. And having been through this experience as a coach of an FCS program, there is definitely, an aspect of this game where you got to have your antennas up and be aware. In 2 of my 4 years at Fordham, we were on the good end of an FCS, FBS upset, and you look, every single year those kind of things happen. We beat Army my last year at Fordham, 37-35 in the opener, and also beat Temple, I believe, my second year there, in which were, really considerable upsets. So from an ex-FCS player and an ex-FCS head coach, this is certainly a game where guys from that level go into the game with a chip on their shoulder with something to prove. Generally, the game plan is to tee it high and let it fly. They're going to pull out all the stops because, there's a great chance for an upset. So certainly we have a tremendous amount of respect for Stephen F. Austin heading into this game. And, as our guys understand, we're not going to prepare for an opponent. We're going to prepare against a standard. And, our level of preparation, effort, execution isn't going to rise or fall based on who we're playing. We're going to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep that nice and steady. A couple of updates heading out of fall camp. We had mentioned the addition of Stephen Adegoke, put on scholarship. I think the last time we met here, we were fortunate enough due to numbers that we were able to put another young man on scholarship. Joel Baldwin, our long snapper, will now be on scholarship with us. So brought Joel in early this week, sat him down in the office, told him we had to call his dad because we had an issue that we had to discuss. And Dad got nervous a little bit, and we told him the issue that he was going to have to figure out a way to spend $25,000 because his son was going to be on scholarship this year, so he was excited about that. And just like we did for Stephen, we got into the team meeting, brought Joel down, told the team we had an issue, and gave the team the same message, and they came down and mobbed them, and it was awesome to see that. And I think anytime you can reward a player with a scholarship who's a walk-on, and those guys don't get a lot of publicity, a lot of fanfare, and they do a great service to the team. I think anytime you can do that either here or anywhere else, that's awesome. All right, so we're very excited for Joel. All right, heading into the game, just some other news. As you guys knew from last week, in addition to Michael Story, who's indefinitely suspended and won't be playing this week, we have 2 other players that will not dress for this game due to a violation of team policy. Nick Fitzgerald won't play this week, and Corey Thomas won't play this week. Nick's violation of team rules occurred in March. And since that time, he's been elected team captain. He's had an awesome spring ball. He's had an awesome summer conditioning workout and had an awesome preseason camp. He's been a great leader, been a great teammate. So Nick will serve a suspension and won't play this week and come back and be our starter against Kansas State. And then Corey will also be sitting out this game. And our guys certainly understand. We talk about choices and consequences and decision making and accountability. And certainly they understand that they're going to have to deal with the consequence of their choice. And then we're going to see those guys back on the field soon. So certainly excited about that. And then KT is going to do an awesome job. We have a next man in philosophy that when someone goes down, the person who replaces them is going to do as good or better of a job. And KT and Jalen Maiden and Logan are going to do a real good job there. So with that said, like I said, excited for the first game. Fired up to get on the field and open it up to questions.
on Nick being out for this week, when did y'all kind of divvy up reps in preseason camp knowing that he wouldn't be in this game, or does that start now with Keaton and the starter reps?
Well, going back to spring ball, because how we operate with the no-huddle system, there's an abundance of reps to go around. So Nick throughout spring ball and throughout fall camp had taken the ones. KT had taken all the twos, and certainly, the other guys, and then Jalen into camp. And then, since Friday when we began Stephen F. Austin prep number 1, KT's been taking the 1 reps and the other guys have been doing the 2s.
From a health perspective, coaches, everybody healthy going into week 1? Is there anybody banged up that won't be able to?
I mean, knock on wood. I think Thomas Cowens and our staff in sports medicine have done an unbelievable job. I think at this point heading into the game, it's bumps and bruises. There's not anyone right now where you look at the injury report and say that they're going to miss a game or be out for an extended amount of time. So I think we're very fortunate in that regard. Pretty healthy for week 1 coming out of a very, very physical fall camp.
Coach Shute mentioned, I think it was last week, about the game day communications and a bunch of different voices involved. How did y'all kind of work on that in the scrimmage? And Shute's going to be in the box, right?
Yes.
So 2 things. One, how have you kind of coordinated with 3 different coordinators helping you in the play calling experience? And then with Coach Shute being up in the box, how has that been settled?
I think that last scrimmage that we had on the Wednesday, where we went through essentially the entire pregame sequence, finishing meetings, coming over, doing the dog walk. We actually went through our whole pregame stretch routine, starting from the warm-ups with the strength and conditioning staff, and then all the way through stretch, individual drills, 7-on-7 team. You punt and kick the field goal at the end of it, then coming out of the locker room. But in terms of the communication aspect of it, it's Coach Shoup and the defensive staff, and I'll be able to click over and kind of give my input into what I see occurring on the field, and then offensively, I'll be calling the plays, and we've got I don't say strategy, but a plan for in between series where the input comes from, and Luke kind of overseeing the whole thing. Andrew, who's got an extensive amount of experience in this system, calling plays. Coach Huff, who've been with me at Penn State, and certainly the value that Coach Johnson and Coach Hudspeth bring to the run game and protections.
You said with the battle at punter that you were looking for more, you're just looking for consistency with those guys. How's that coming along?
Yeah, Tucker's gonna be the start punter, and Cody's gonna back him up. And at the end of the day, we chart all those things and review them on a daily basis. And it really comes down to distance, hang time, and operation. And from that standpoint, both of the guys did a great job, but we felt that Tucker gave us the best opportunity to be successful. Hopefully, we ain't doing much punting. I'm not a big fan of the punt, but I know it is a necessary evil. So if we have to, hopefully, Tucker's going to do a great job with it.
Is there anything you want to tell the students going into this game?
Ring responsibly. No, I think it's I'm excited for my first time in the stadium. So to be honest, I think I'm coming from a place where I felt it was one of the best student sections in the country at Penn State, and I've heard very much the same about Mississippi State. You hear the writers and the media and the people who have covered games here saying it's the best atmosphere in the country. So, I want them to arrive early. I want them to be as loud as they can and give us a true home field advantage. And I think that at the end of the day, the students, the fans, the alumni are going to be very proud of the product that we put on the field.
You got to watch Keaton start the Tax Slayer Bowl under a different circumstance, but when it became clear to you that he was going to start this game, did you go back to that film at all, or did you stay entirely with what you've seen in practice?
I saw it in person from the booth, and then I had watched the film on it, afterward. But certainly, it's like any position that you're going to craft and tailor the game plan, to the strengths of the guys who are going to be out on the field. And certainly, Nick and KT share a very similar skill set. But certainly, it's like with any other position, you're going to major in the things that you think that they do the best and can help the offense be successful, and kind of minor in some of the other things. But in terms of a game plan and construction of it and application of it, there's really not much, not much change from what we would ask Nick to do and what we would ask KT to do. Oh, thank you.
Other questions?
Tyler?
As soon as the decision came out about Nick, how
Yeah.
did you see the guys kind of respond to that, and how did they kind of rally around Keaton?
I think the guys have a tremendous amount of belief in Keaton, obviously, because of how talented he is and that he's had the opportunity to go into a game, and particularly a bowl game under circumstances with an interim staff against a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and bring the team to a great win in the bowl game. But I think part of it stems from that, and you hear me talk about the culture of the program and what we're looking to do relative to the little things and accountability and discipline and attention to detail. And I hope one of the things that we've been successful of, one of the things we've been able to kind of build and foster is that idea of next man in. So I think on top of what KT brings to the table as a player, that our team has a belief that we're going to handle prosperity and handle adversity. And when you're hit with a little bit of adversity like this, you got to bow your back. You got to get your chin off your chest. You got to stand strong and trust that, KT's a very, very good player, and we're going to put him in a position to be successful. And he's going to give an opportunity, and he's going to play great in the game.
Coach, you talked about Stephen F. Austin being similar offensive scheme than
Yep.
you have, and it helped in the preparation for them. But what can you do otherwise? Being the first game, don't have a whole lot of film on them. Do you go back to last year, or do you go back to their spring game, or how do you exactly scout your first game
Our
opponent?
whole, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm interrupting. The whole game plan is comprised off of last year's tape. So generally what you do when you're breaking down an opponent, for the first one, you get all the games from the prior season, and then offense and defense won't use the same games in the breakdown. So offensively, we're going to pick the offenses whose schemes most resemble what we do and take the breakdown from there. And then defensively, Coach Shoup will look for teams that played 4 down, mix in the 3 down stuff, some of the pressure stuff. So usually, not usually, that's always what occurs. You're going to pick the teams in the prior year who run schemes most similar to what you do.
Obviously, game situations would dictate such if you would need it, but would Jalen be Keaton's backup on Saturday?
Right now, we got Jalen and Logan Burnett as an or, and both of those guys have been splitting reps with the twos. And it's just, for a true freshman, to come in and who hadn't been taking all those repetitions with the ones or the twos, that's a lot to ask of him. But in terms of a package that's kind of been reduced, like I said, to maximize his strengths and kind of minimize the inexperience aspect of it. And Logan's a guy that's been with us, understands the system, and can execute. And that's not to say, you look at our past, you put 2 quarterbacks in the game at the same time and let them have at it. So I think as a staff, we've historically done a pretty good job of tailoring a game plan to fit our strengths. So I think that'll definitely be the case this week. Nothing about the beard? A little disappointed. As a side note, enter the season no beard, playoff beard in November. So it'll make an appearance towards the tail end of October, in case anyone was wondering.
All right. Oh,